But yeah, so anyway, welcome back, YouTube, to another episode of the Podpastor. We hope you enjoyed last week's episode. We got a lot of good comments on that episode, so we appreciate the thoughtfulness and the time that you guys took out to watch and comment on that. We have a special guest today, and Uncle Dan, I'll let you do your introduction again.
Oh, I thought it was me that was a special guest.
Well, if you keep missing episodes, you will turn into the special guest category.
So we have Pastor DOMINICK CUOZZO, mayor of Plumstead, New Jersey, also born in New Jersey. We just found out on Patreon, so go watch Patreon to find a little bit about his life story and why he got into politics and where he grew up and all that. It's all on there. And we're excited. Obviously, he's the mayor, so we're going to have a couple politic questions.
Mayor. We got to call him mayor the whole time.
Yep, mayor.
Hello, mayor. It's like governor.
But he also preached here at Third Baptist today, so you can go on live. You can watch that sermon on Third Baptist is live.
Yep.
And obviously,
message.
we have Podpastor here who's pretty sore about last week.
Sore.
And,
I win.
Sore. Oh, I wasn't talking about that. But man, that's top of mind
Sore
for you.
from working.
That's top of mind for you. Wow.
Before we get started,
let's start this message.
Well, wait, before we get into it, roll the intro.
Did you ever see this?
No.
Good to go. Welcome back, and then Podpastor, we just got to you, so go ahead, take it away.
All right. We're talking about Danny. Someone said the shadow's heavy on his face. I said everything's heavy on Danny. So
It's not as funny.
The
the
lap
second
is
time
over.
around.
We already laughed.
all right, here's a message from
You
President
sounded
Trump.
really
This is
stupid.
about our debate last week.
In my opinion, Dapper Dan lost the debate in a huge way. He don't get us. He wants us talking about Jesus, and he will change you in a huge way. Sorry, Dan, you're a loser and a terrible person, just terrible who eats cats.
He's just terrible and he eats cats.
I do eat cats. I love Chinese food.
There you go.
And we're canceled. Thank you guys for watching our last episode.
Growing up, me and my cousin Giuseppe, I talked about.
Yes, what a name.
We used to go to a restaurant in Florida at the time, and he went to a different church. He went to Assemblies of God Church, and I went to the Baptist Church, and we would meet up at a place called Wing Ming.
No way.
Wing Ming, that was the name of the place.
Wing Ming.
So one Sunday, we were meeting at Wing Ming. We had lunch there, buffet, all you can eat. He's eating the beef and broccoli,
Oh, no.
Ooh.
and he ate the beef and broccoli.
Wait,
and he-
should we put air quotes around that? The beef and broccoli?
The beef and broccoli. And he said this word to me. He's sitting across the table from me. He said, "It's so good. It's so tender." He said these words, "It almost doesn't taste like beef."
Oh, no.
Wow.
Monday in the papers. In the papers.
Shut him down.
Wing Ming was shut down because they had
Cats.
dog and cat.
Wow, dog too?
In the freezers. Yeah.
Man, now dog is rough. That's some rough stuff.
I will say, though, if you're ever around the Chinese restaurant, there's no stray cats.
Never.
Never.
Did you ever hear that guy sing that song, Garfield on My Fork?
We actually,
You never heard that?
you remember we had
Let's
a
see if I can look
dog.
that
We
up.
had a dog that we lost.
Yeah.
She ran away, and then 2 years later, there was a corner store that was run by a Chinese couple, and she came running out of there. And I asked my dad if we could take her home, and he said, "No, we already have another dog."
Racist real quick here.
Well, listen, we're not talking about Haitians. We're switching it up a little bit.
I'm going to be the fact checker for this whole episode.
That's a true story. That is
That's
true.
crazy. So they shut him down. Look it up. Google later.
First of all,
Garfield on the Fork.
Wing Ming sounds like it was
Wing Ming.
a white person thought of like a good Chinese
Don't do
restaurant
it.
name.
Don't do it. Don't do it. I know what you want to do right
Well, you
now.
know what?
Don't
They didn't
go
come
there.
up. They didn't. Obviously, they didn't plan out that name. They did it on the wing. They winged it.
Yeah. All right, so let's get into this. Come on, let's start. Let's.
All right.
What do we want? You want to go first with asking Pastor CUOZZO about last week's question? Is that
Yeah,
how
we
you
could
wanna
start off with that instead of. But we know Project 2092. We had Phil Rizzo on.
Yeah.
Remember the one-armed bandit? We had him up here. He's the vice president. This is the president of that project.
Yes, sir.
And this time of year, especially voting cycle, is a big thing to know. Church need to be involved in local government, and it's a big deal. We are the salt of the earth and the light, and we can't hide from that. That was kind of your message today.
Yeah.
Good message.
We have a civic responsibility, and Project 29.2, our goal is to get people of faith as involved as they should be as a citizen in civics. And for a long time, people of faith have been believing a lie that somehow it's virtuous to not be responsible for what happens in the politics of our country and otherwise. And so they've relinquished that duty, and they'll look at it and they'll say, "Oh, have you ever heard someone tell you politics are dirty? It's dirty.
Yes,
it's terrible."
Yeah.
And you don't know what that means. Let me tell you what it means. Okay, it means people are going to lie about you, and the lies are ridiculous. Some of the things, I don't know if I've ever told you this, that some of the things they lied, they said they had 3 people come forward, 3 men come forward, that I had sexually assaulted them.
Wow.
That was then.
It was us 3.
Boom.
Wow.
Man, we just texted them that. They came out with that already.
It's already hit
They're
the
quick.
papers.
How
That's crazy.
do you deal with that? I would just snap.
Well, here's the bright side of that. Some church members would be great politicians then. The stuff they come up with.
Well, I do feel like being a pastor is very similar to being a politician. Like, people talk about
Told you.
You're living in a fishbowl, and everyone's examining everything you do.
Yeah.
So some of that, and then my wife has said there's folks that weren't expressing their opinion about me, but I'm sure they already have these opinions about me.
Right.
And so it's really, in some sense, it's nothing new. They just kind of feel like they can now talk about it a little bit more freely. But I'm sure they always hated me.
Oh,
You know
yeah.
what I mean, this is nothing new.
Especially because
Right,
they
right.
hate Jesus first and you're
Exactly.
representing.
Exactly.
So now you're mayor.
Well, Project 29.2 is about getting people involved. So for me in my town, my involvement was being a part of the party in my town. I held office within the party for over a decade, both me and my wife.
Wow.
And then
Can I ask you real fast?
Yeah.
What caused you to get involved with your party 10 years ago, right?
Yeah.
It's a hot topic in the last 8 years.
Right.
But you're before the hot topic. You're before the Trump. So what caused that?
there was a born-again believer who was a state assemblyman. His name is Ron Dancer. He's with the Lord. And he was very persuasive. He just said, you have a responsibility. Everybody does have to be involved. And this is a position that we need folks to fill. And I would like you to do it. So he specifically, an elected official on a state level, came to me and asked me to be involved in our local government, both on the party level. He helped me with that position. And then he put me in something called the Land Use Board,
Wow.
which is it's a board that decides if property proposals meet with the zoning. So
Right.
like when someone says, I want to build a house here, we say, well, in order to build on this property, you have to have 5 acres. You only got 4. So they need an exception, maybe. One guy came in, ready? This is hilarious. He says, I want to put these solar panels in. He's like, and there's an ordinance on how high they can be off my yard. He's
Wow.
like, it's like, whatever that was like 8 feet or whatever. He's like, but if I put up at 8'3" and put them 3 inches higher than the ordinance, I can ride my riding lawnmower underneath them and not hit my head.
Oh, my goodness.
I just want to go right underneath it. And so
Oh,
we ran the ordinance. Stuff like that. It's the spirit of the law versus the letter of the
Gotcha.
law. And so we would make exceptions. And I served on that board. Wonderful thing that everyone should serve in some way, shape, or form, either in their local party or in civics. They should definitely vote.
Right.
The last few years, my wife and I have both been poll workers, and you can be a poll worker or a poll watcher. And if you're not doing one, you should do the other. And it's a wonderful thing.
We have a few poll workers in our church.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, Bert.
Wonderful. Yeah,
Bert.
I think I met him this morning.
Yeah.
he was talking.
He just signed up to be.
It's wonderful.
Christian got nervous on that one.
I didn't know where you were going with
Yeah,
that.
I saw you. I heard you laugh. Nope.
I start sipping.
I know.
These
I was
guys.
about to duck out. He said, we got some
We
poll
have
workers
some
at church.
poll workers too.
So, all right, I'm just getting it now. Okay, yeah.
I'm avoiding it. I'm actually doing good. They're trying to bait me. See?
They
Goad me.
I just start sipping.
first they bait you and then they debate you.
And they lose.
Mic drop.
Yeah, he did a mic. He did a. I know.
I did a mic drop.
He did a mic drop
He did a
last
mic
week.
drop last
It was
week.
called for.
It was so, he made it so antagonistic.
Yeah.
I knew exactly what Trump was going through with Kamala, and then the moderator being against you too.
Right.
Well, no, the problem with that is
That you couldn't
you're
say
good-
50-50.
No, you're good at debating, so you were leading him down these rabbit holes when he had you on a point, and I just had to tell him, hey, just stick
All right,
with him
back
here.
on point because we got to get to this debate still.
All right, so hold on. So then, real fast. So I stopped you there, but you were on project.
My
29-2.
assemblyman
Yes.
asked me to get involved, and we've been serving, and it's been wonderful. That part. Actually, after I got elected to office, someone within the municipal government who didn't like me found out where I was assigned to be a poll worker, and they called the police and said that I kicked this lady off of her chair, beat her while she was down. And
Wow.
Why would you do that?
She
I
was,
didn't like her.
she was a church member.
Here's the funny part. The county had called me late the night before, say, hey, we have a problem. Don't go to your assigned polling place. We need you to be at this other polling place. So I had not an alibi, but I wasn't even there.
Wow.
No
People,
way.
They love to lie about you when it's like provable that you're not true. But once the story gets out, it's like what did Spurgeon say?
gone,
Take the pillow to the Big Ben and throw it all over London and then go get the feathers. Once it's out there, there's people that still believe that I did that.
Right.
And I was not even there that day.
I'm not convinced.
So that's a question. So then how
Show me the proof.
how did that affect pastoring?
Well, the folks in my church encouraged me actually to run. They wanted me to be involved. I've been preaching about this stuff for a long time, and so they were excited about me being involved. I don't think that it has caused us any. It's hard. How do you measure who didn't come to church?
Right.
It's an immeasurable quantity. But I know this, that the folks that I have reached, and for me, I had already lived in my town for a long time.
Sorry, I'm breaking the mic.
And when it comes to being a gospel witness, you're speaking to folks.
Right.
You're trying to talk. They know who you are. Well, being involved in the politics in our town opened up a whole nother avenue of friendship that I could then bring the gospel to.
Amen.
And so everyone who's got saved in our church over the last 5 years have been young couples,
Wow.
folks that I'm working with politically.
Yeah.
And
I love a young church.
It's been great.
Yep.
It's been great. And
We're getting there.
a lot of our folks were very active and found out, over the course, especially over COVID and all the rest, they found out that even involvement in politics. So they got activated during the mandates.
Oh, wow.
But some of them were hyper activated, and they had instead of serving their country and being involved, being good for them, it was causing hate, bitterness in their heart, and so they realized the emptiness of it. Look, politics is a duty. You're not going to find fulfillment in politics. You
Right.
can only find fulfillment in Christ.
Amen.
And so some folks have come to the end of themselves with it. They said, if I can just be involved, then, and they realize that emptiness of it, and they've come to Christ. It's been a wonderful thing. So a lot of folks have gotten saved. You're going to lead folks to the Lord in your sphere of influence. So if your sphere of influence expands to the political arena, then there'll be people, getting saved in that political arena. Phil, as mentioned, he's baptized folks, a couple of folks that we met through politics, given the gospel, campaign managers for some of our campaigns.
Wow.
Lost folks. They're saved now, serving the Lord. It's just been, it's been a fruitful fishing hole. You can put it that way. We were fishing for men, right?
Right.
It's been a fruitful fishing hole, for sure.
That's awesome. Quick question, if I can. And I think, especially being in a very heavily Democratic city, a lot of our subscribers live here or live within the radius. Understanding how voting in a losing battle still can make a difference.
Okay. So I'd like to tell the story of the state of Virginia. Depending on what state you're in, your state elections could be held in line with the federal elections, which are the even numbered years, or there's two states that aren't, New Jersey and Virginia.
Right.
And so Virginia, they had in 2021 a governor's election. They had an odd number year. And what the church is after 2020, a lot of folks were really, hyper motivated for election integrity and getting involved after seeing what happened in 2020. There was a group of folks that in 2021 said, in Virginia, we're going to get involved.
Right.
And so they didn't understand that by the time you get to November, it's really too late. The teams have already been picked. And so in November, you're voting for one team or the other. But if you want to be involved, you need to vote in the summertime. In the summertime, that's when the primary happens. That's when the teams are picking their candidates. And if you really want to be involved, you hold office within the party and you get a weighted vote and you pick who's even going to be in the ballot placement. That's done in March.
Wow.
Okay. So these pastors got involved and they said, instead of saying, look, these are all the areas where we're losing, they said, where are we winning? And this is their terminology. They said, we're going to run up the score in the areas where we're winning. And they held voter registration drives. We have 2 voter registration drives coming up for Project 292 here in Jersey. And we have county captains. It's going to be wonderful. And we're just trying to get people registered. We want participation. Some of the reason, could you imagine if, here's the statistics. In the United States of America, any given Sunday, 80 million people are in church somewhere.
Wow.
80 million eligible voters in church somewhere. In any given election, national election, 30 million vote.
Wow. So we're missing.
Wow.
Could you imagine if 50 million people more were voting?
No, we'd have no issue.
It would be a blowout.
Yeah.
And so what they did in Virginia, they registered about just over 70,000 people for that election. New registered voters. And then Youngkin won by 60,000 votes. So you can, there's a lot of different things that determined it. But I think the fact that you had registered voters that weren't registered voters before that were now committed to vote, that made the difference for that state.
Right.
Now let's bring in to Taylor Swift, who just came and endorsed Kamala Harris. Now they're saying they're seeing an influx
I think you're pronouncing that wrong.
Kamala.
Like a comma.
I pronounce it
Like a coma.
like, yeah, I should. She's
Kami
in one.
Kamala.
I pronounce it differently because she's so like one day she's Southern, one day she's Indian, next day she's black. She's never the same. So her name
she's
could be
always
Kamala,
black.
Kamala.
So it's interesting that I think more interesting than Taylor
Can I
Swift.
just give you a disclosure?
Yeah.
These opinions are not my own.
Yes.
They are, his opinions are his opinions.
That's right.
We just go ahead and say that.
There you go.
Public record.
We're
True.
gonna
I don't
put
blame
in the
him for it.
description
I don't blame him for not wanting to agree with me on Kamala.
I think what's unique about
fraud.
I'm not really annoyed. I'm not annoyed with Taylor Swift. I mean, I think that's Hollywood.
Right.
I'm not. It's just it's par for the
Well, you don't
course.
get annoyed with anybody.
But no, I'm really annoyed with the former Vice President Pence
Why?
endorsing Kamala Harris.
Did he?
Yes.
I thought Cheney did. Did I?
Cheney and
Pence too?
yes,
What in the world?
I don't know. I didn't see that. You sure?
I did. Yeah.
Oh, no.
Fake news. Fact check him.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
By the way, at the end of this
moderators
podcast,
did fact check.
at the end of this podcast, I'm going to put, I'm Dominic CUOZZO, and I approve this message. Just take back everything you said.
No, but that you're bringing up a point about just elections in general, especially this year. It is no longer about Republican or Democrat at this
No.
point. It's about those that believe in freedom
True.
and non-censorship and, the corruption of the regulators. You name all of these things from RFK to Tulsi Gabbard. There are those that believe in America. They love America, don't want to get involved in overseas wars.
I agree.
Don't want to be a weak country with a weak
Right.
dollar and part of a globalist society.
Which we are now.
They
Right.
want to be a strong nation, and so it's those that want a strong America versus those that really want a weak America.
Absolutely.
And, so it's not R&D right now. It's do you believe that America should be a world leader, or do you believe we just need to take a backseat to the UN?
Never.
Right?
No.
Right? That's what this is
Right.
about.
It is so true.
He's looking it up.
And that's the thing with Kamala Harris.
There you
Yeah, I can never.
Just call her Kamala.
Yeah, Kamala. But they're calling her now Kamala inflation. What is it? Kamalaflation.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's better than Bidenflation.
Yeah, Bidenomics is working. I love that new ad they put out where
Saw that.
she's like, Bidenomics is working, and then it's how
Biden-
bad it's. Yeah,
Well, do you see the one where she says, "I'm different. I'm not Joe Biden," but then they quote everything she says is
It's-
exactly what he said.
Yeah.
They're quoting one another.
and we know she's a puppet. We
Right.
know she's being ran.
Someone
We know
gave
she's
her
being,
that script.
Yeah, she's being handled. So they need fool. But I was thinking this the other night when she was on that debate stage. How it's amazing because in the end you'll have many antichrist, and even though she's nothing near Christ, like even promoting like the devil will, she still is like antichrist. So she's saying I'm going to do this and I'm going to fix this and I'm going to fix that, knowing that she's not going to do any of it. And they believe the lie rather than
Being that I
truth.
can't find this as easy as I heard it, I'm going to retract that he didn't.
Okay.
Because I think it would be as easily as I found Cheney.
Right.
So I would say then I would retract that. But that ticks me off that he won't endorse Trump first off.
Everybody else.
It's all right, Dan. We're used to you being wrong on the podcast.
There he is. Now that's not an antagonizer. That's not someone who
Just
doesn't
telling
know
the
how.
truth,
That's
bud.
not someone who doesn't know how to
Man.
debate.
That's crazy.
Listen,
He
when
has
I-
to make it personal.
No, I'm not gonna say what I have to
He
say.
can't not make it personal.
We're going to get into this debate.
Oh, yeah, let's do it. By the way, okay, go ahead.
Everybody that was in the Republican primary for president endorsed Trump when they dropped out. Even Nikki Haley.
Yes.
Everyone but Pence.
Yep.
He's the only one that hasn't. So maybe that's what you heard.
Yeah.
Is that he's the only one.
He has a little
that
pent
did
up
not-
aggression.
It's a little annoying that
Got soft pretzel. You could eat on the set.
look at his hips. It
Joe
doesn't
Rogan
tell you, he
eats
eats
on
all the time on this
I
thing.
don't want any.
Look at them hips.
I can't see it behind the stage.
Yeah, it's poking in this way.
They pick on my weight all the time. All the time.
No, he cannot go one
These
episode.
guys are trying to get on Ozempic.
Our faith.
I'm just saying no to my
Don't do it.
flesh.
Don't
do
Our
it.
faithful followers know that he
I'm just
cannot
saying
go
that.
one episode without making fun of us for our weight. That's the first.
Because
I think
you
that's
go
the
at
first. I think that's the first time we actually made the
Factual
comment in the
complaint.
opposite
Yeah,
That's
direction.
called the Podpastor.
Yes.
I'm the leader. I got to lead.
Podpastor. I like it.
Podpastor.
I like the name.
Thank you.
I didn't say
Thank
that
you.
online. I said it
Yes.
offline.
He actually is the one
I
who
love
came
that.
up with the name.
Great name.
Thank you.
Yeah, very, very
There is
good.
one out there called We're the Podpastor. There is a Spanish.
Yeah, well, there's plenty
YouTube
of
channel
podcasters,
called
but we're the
Podpastor.
about shepherding?
podcaster.
Yeah, no, I don't. We don't understand the liquid you're saying. It could be good, it could be bad. We don't know. It's all Spanish.
We don't endorse it.
Yeah, we don't endorse it. But
El Pastor.
yeah,
Have you ever had an El Pastor taco?
it's very good.
I felt obligated to try it.
Spicy,
Right?
Yes.
Oh,
If you get it from if you get it from Chipotle, I just think everything is spicy there. Everything I get from Chipotle.
Come on.
You like Chipotle?
Sweet.
Chipotle? I don't. We have a good Mexican place
Christian
here.
doesn't know how to eat healthy. He eats pizza and cheesesteaks. Can't you tell?
Real fast, and soft pretzels. Real fast. So
You said no, he
last
didn't.
week we had a nice, healthy debate about a commercial, and we're going to keep it. So my Uncle Dan and my dad are going to disagree on a lot of things,
No, we're not. 90% we agree on.
but there are a lot of things that you will disagree on.
We agree to disagree. That's
So
about it.
and what he just said, that's going to be the title of that segment going forward. We're going to do one segment every week, agree to disagree. We're going to give a topic, see if they agree, see if they disagree, and then tell us why. Last week was about a commercial, and it's called He Gets Us. And that I already like the reaction. I can already tell. And basically, it was more targeted, obviously, towards the LGBTQ community and all that, and saying basically that God gets you, and exactly where you are, all that, just not really giving the whole picture,
us.
So our side of the debate was, we think that if you're going to tell people about God, you got to give them the whole picture, not just that, because then they'll take that and think, okay, well, I could say exactly how I am because God loves me anyway. Instead of, man, I'm such a bad person for what I'm doing, but God still loves me. Maybe I should love him more. And then he was arguing the side of, and I'm going to be fair, because he was arguing the side that no matter what the message is, God can use
Well,
it
let
for
me
good.
give my side. He give his side. Then
Yeah, there you go.
I don't want to debate again.
No, we're not going to debate it. But my side.
Well, we're
my-
just giving it to him
so he
real quick.
understands, so he
Yeah.
can tell us. But my view of the commercial was that you watch it. It's like it's the alcoholic mother, the daughter is washing her feet, and it looks good. And we should love one another and love our enemies and do good to them that despitefully use us, bless them that curse us. But really, the message is, when you watch it, you have a priest at the very end bound down. It's a transgender or homosexual. They're actually in front of the priest washing their feet. And we love the transgender and love the homosexual. Jesus loves them. They could come to Christ. But what it's saying is, at the very end, is like, he's not changing that person. The priest is saying, it's okay, you don't have to change. That's the picture. And then they'll put, Jesus didn't hate. So what they're saying in my mind is, if I disagree with their lifestyle, their sinful lifestyle, that if I disagree with
It's
it,
hate speech.
I'm hating
Which
them.
you understand as a politician.
And that's
I'm
why I
sure.
don't like the commercial.
The left does
because
that
it
all the
doesn't.
time.
And that's that was my whole debate. It wasn't that God don't love them. He does.
Yeah.
And he gets sin, and he gets the penalty and death of it because he came and died for our sin. So he does get that. But the way the commercial's painting it is like, if you disagree with their lifestyle,
And-
you're nothing like Christ.
And my view is it's a perspective of view. So I view it in my perspective as a Christian, not as an unsaved Christian. And it's meant for the unsaved. So if I'm viewing it in their perspective, it's going to, if I have that itch of looking and searching, it scratches it and kind of points me that if I am gay, or if I am lesbian, if I am living in sin or in an open marriage or whatever, and it says, hey, he gets you. Go look. Again, it's not giving you the full plan of salvation. It's not directing you to a particular church. So my view is a perspective view that, yes, as a Christian, like, it's not doing anything for me other than maybe, like Christian said, putting me in that view of, oh, he's fine with that. But that's an apolitical view in the sense that I'm viewing it from my perspective.
Yeah.
I'm not viewing it from someone who doesn't know God.
right.
that
and
was
so
it.
then we had some comments that agreed with Danny's view, my view. So what is your view?
First of all, this is you have to. Do you know who put those commercials?
John Lee.
I thought it was the Green family.
It is the
The
Green.
Green family funded it,
Yeah.
and they're very well-intentioned folks.
Yes.
So my opinion about how this is portrayed has nothing to do with I think their intentions are good, and
Correct.
I'm glad they're trying their best to reach out to use what God has given them to reach out. So start out there that I appreciate what they're doing. And then also on his side, to disagree with you a little bit, is there is a history to this, okay? And the history is that for a long time there were some Christian churches that taught Romans chapter 1
Right.
wrong. They taught Romans chapter 1 very wrong. In Romans chapter 1 says, if you don't recognize God as God, as a society, and you're ungrateful to him, the society's going to end up in gender confusion. Like, and we wouldn't even put those two things together.
Right.
Like, who said that, like, oh, you're not grateful to God as creator, and you're going to have gender confusion because of it. And so he's talking about all that and what happens and what takes place in the mind, the callus of the heart, and all the rest of it. And they're,
Look at these smiles.
why is he? Did he say all this?
No,
Okay.
not even close.
And so,
I'm just doing the Kamala laugh, smile at him.
so
Go ahead.
okay. So then, but because of that, there was a lot of folks that, and they would say this to people. They would say you're irredeemable.
Yeah.
And so if you're combating the fact that some people thought, and then here's his side, is that the world has married someone's sinful proclivities to their identity.
Right.
And
right.
God says, no, you're not married to that. Matter of fact, I'm here to free you
Yes.
from all your sinful proclivities. You don't have to live in bondage to your. You can't say, well, I was born this way.
Right. That's
That's the premise of religion.
Right.
The premise of salvation is that we were born with sin and
Right,
desire for
right.
sin, and I know it's wrong, and I don't want to be that, and God saves me from it. So there's really there's an extreme on both sides here. There's the one side that says you don't have to be married to your sinful. You don't have to identify yourself with your sinful proclivities. God can save you from that. And then the other side that says, well, they can never be. Once you've given yourself over to that, you can't ever be redeemed. Neither are true. Neither are true.
And that's, I think I did say this in the argument that when I grew up, the pulpits were preaching, it was harsh. It was a very harsh tone of name calling and kind of, it wasn't love. It wasn't. So I think people that grew up and, that money is funny is understanding that, I don't like to call it's not hate, but it was this sickening of like, ooh, like I can't believe that you're doing that.
Well, your sin is always disgusting.
Yeah.
Right? My sin's not disgusting. I look in the mirror
True.
and I'm like, oh,
There you go.
I'm just a mistake.
Yeah.
But your sin's gross. And we have to understand all sin is gross to
Yes.
Right.
God. And
that's again, I made that point as well.
Right. So he brought that up about pride. He kept saying,
Like, because I was like, pride.
you can't, that's the same.
God's
But I
looking
said
at sin is sin. He's righteous.
So then I said, if they made a commercial like that saying that it's okay to be prideful because God loves you anyway, I would disagree with that too. It just happens to be what the commercial is about.
And another debate on that commercial is they don't bring
it does breed confusion. My problem with the commercial is it breeds confusion.
Yeah,
correct.
That's what I was.
It's not clear what they're really saying.
confusions
Right.
of the
Devil.
Perspective. But hold on.
Mic drop number 2.
Yeah.
He's breaking
But hold on. It breeds confusion, but not for someone who's unsaved.
Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't.
already confused.
No, they don't have they don't know the truth. So
And
there
that
is
doesn't
no
tell 'em.
confusion. You know, to be confused, you have to know the truth. You have to know
So
the other
I
side.
see.
Knowledge
They
is-
mean well, but there's a lot of mean well. Well, and then the Pope comes out and endorses. So when the Pope endorses that lifestyle, he's really sending them to hell. He really condemned them to hell because now they think, well, I don't have to. And in order to get Christ, you have to lose your life. So you got to lose your lifestyle, your form of belief.
Well, hold
you got to
on.
lose your religion.
Well, wait,
You gotta
real
come to-
quick.
That's repentance.
We're not going to debate about this again.
We're not debating
but
it.
You,
are.
as a true politician, you did a very good
I'm
job.
just stating Bible.
Wait,
You
as
were
a true
debating.
politician, you did a very good job. He highlighted the good arguments on both
I got
sides
the
and the
drop
disagreements on both sides. So well done. And debate number 2, which we'll get all 3 of you in on, and I'll try to stay moderator and in the middle.
I may need your help.
And so this is the topic: is church, the concept of church nowadays, a den of thieves? Is church just a den of thieves?
Wow.
And we'll start. You know what? We started with Podpastor last time, so we'll start with.
Well, no. Why don't we give to our guest? Let him
Yeah, I
start.
like that.
You want to be put on the spot like that? I would
He's
like
the
him to
mayor.
hear the.
He knows how to be. He knows how to go.
sees
All right.
both
I'm
sides.
so diplomatic here today.
He sees both sides, though. He sees the political view
So,
of the
yeah.
church and then
Yeah.
the biblical view.
So at any given time, you have to define terms too. We're local church.
Yeah.
So we believe every local church is autonomous. There's these big bureaucratic institutions that call themselves churches.
Correct.
And I don't believe that that's a thing. I think it's wrong. The polity of it, it's all wrong.
Yeah.
But at any given time, you have to remember when the first, chapter 2 and chapter 3 of the book of Revelation were given, there's 7 epistles by John to these churches. They all existed at the same time. So are there churches that are nothing but a den of thieves? Yes, for sure. They existed back in the day. They will always exist. There'll always be some shepherd who's not a shepherd. What did Peter say? They're fleecing the flock, man.
Yes.
They're filthy lucre. They
Wolves in sheep's clothing.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so they'll always be that kind of thing. So are there churches like that? And are churches in the United States of America that hold to what I will coin, the health and wealth prosperity gospel. Yeah, those guys that's what they are. And I love taking folks to the passage where it says, here's the confusion, that godliness is gain. In other words, you put an equal sign between godliness and gain, you don't understand anything about faith. Because the real faith is with contentment. In other words, this is what God has given me. I'm trusting Him for everything. Yep. And so when you start saying that I'm a better Christian because I'm healthy and I'm wealthy and you're a worse Christian, if you had more faith, if you only had more faith, you could have lost 40 pounds.
Didn't happen.
Forget it. You don't need Ozempic.
But his beloved, he makes fat. How's that verse go?
All right.
No, you don't memorize that verse? I thought that's your life verse with them hips.
They don't love you too much.
Back on point.
Back to the subject here is that there are churches that do that, and most of them are the health and wealth gospel church. And what does that do to someone's life if they're living a life of poverty? That somehow my faith is not good enough. God really doesn't love me. If God really loved me, I would be healthy. I'd keep flying around in my Gulfstream like what's his name? So, yes, churches are a den of thieves. It's usually because of false doctrine.
Yes.
And what's the root of that false doctrine?
Osteen.
He's the root of it. The root of all evil, Joel Osteen.
Love of money.
It's the love of money.
Yep.
The love of money.
So, I'm going to jump in. So, for the YouTube people, we're talking about Jesus at the temple, and he entered the temple, and this is Matthew 21:12. Jesus entered the temple, the courts, and drove out all who were buying and selling there. He overturned the tables of the money changers and the benches of those selling doves. It is written, he said to them, my house will be called a house of prayer, but you are making it a den of robbers. So,
thieves.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I read the wrong version there, buddy.
Wow.
Oh,
And that tells you everything you need to know.
From this podcast.
My bad. Dude, it's supposed to be
his favorite. It's
No
favorite.
wonder
I've
you're
seen it.
messed up
It
your
says
doctrine,
NIV.
bud.
It's his favorite.
Yeah.
No wonder his doctrine is
I had it marked favorite.
skewed.
I had it marked favorite. Sorry.
Of course.
And Jesus went into the temple of God and cast out all those who sold and bought in the temple and overthrew the tables of the money changers and seats of those who sold doves. And said unto them, it is written, my house shall be called the house of prayer, but ye have made it a den of thieves. So I think there's, again, churches are organizations. They have leadership. They have people. There has to be an income there for that to sustain itself. They're paying for the building. They're paying for
their tools.
Yes.
They have them. Like, a church doesn't need tools. A church could be completely non-financial.
Well, and that's why. So I think what I'm going to say here is very debatable because I'm black and white and I don't like gray areas. And I don't think God did things to put us in gray areas.
I'm going to clip it. Last week you said that we and my dad were very black and white and the issue was a gray issue.
It was. Again, it was. And I'm saying I stay black and white, right? So yous are delving into a gray area and making a decision. I think we should stay out of the gray areas and not make decisions. That's for the Holy Spirit and you to get together and make a decision. Yous want to make that decision for them. That's what I was saying. So this, I would say, making money in the church, the fundraising, after whatever you're selling on property is a fine line that, again, a new Christian reading this is going to determine it possibly as, whoa, I thought God hated this. So the mission has to be very clear. The finances need to be very open. And that way the public perspective is not skewed as, like you said, flying around on a Gulfstream jet. Right. And people are like, Yeah. So I would say it's about being
Balanced.
open, very open. It's a very open, honest, above reproach.
Podpastor?
He's studying. He's trying to study because he's like, dang, that's a great point.
No, it's a good. Well, yeah, the den of thieves. I agree with our guest, Pastor CUOZZO. How we are a den of thieves when we don't preach sound doctrine, sound truth. Also, money. Money has become the root of all. It is the root of all evil, and that's the love of let's
get doctrine and sound.
I believe love in the money. We'll get Pop Penichetti just walked in. We'll get him on this subject. And then come on down, Pop.
Come here. Yeah, you have to come in on this one. Yeah, you do.
And so, but here's another way to look at it: the den of thieves. I think if Jesus came into the Third Baptist Church today, would he call it a den of thieves? Because you're here, but you're not here. Your mind is somewhere else. Maybe you're not, So he said, my house should be called a house of prayer. How many times do we rob him by not even being prayed up coming in or praying while we're here in the spirit? I know why he's doing that in the temple. They're selling. People can't come and pray because they're in that They're right where the praying grounds for the Gentiles were right where they were selling.
Yeah.
They were in dove mess and doo-doo and all this other, and that offend Jesus. They're coming to pray to me, and you're in the way. So yeah, I agree 100% with that's always the root of money. The love of money is the root. So
I think
anything
that's
that builds a hurdle, builds a hurdle between the lost and the Savior who's seeking the lost is ungodly. And in this case, it was the love of money. These guys,
Yes.
they saw an opportunity for them to get wealthy, and instead of reaching the Gentile nations, they were fleecing the Gentile nations.
It was a congregational area that they just kind of capitalized on.
Yeah.
So, and this just leads me real fast. I don't know if this is debatable, but that's where I believe social media has been really the game changer with just humanity, right? Because with contentment, I love that verse. It's one of my favorite Bible verses. I tell my kids all the time, we live in a 2-bedroom house that, for all intents, most people be like, oh, it's not beautiful. And I love it. I'm so happy that I'm grateful for it. I don't need, and I tell my kids and they're like, oh, well, we don't like that floor, or we don't like this. And I'm like, that TikTok, that Instagram age of what people are flashing have really created a society of non-content. It's always more and more and more, and you just never sit back. And without contentment, there you go. We don't have the great gain. So I'm huge on the social media. That's really, I think, the really tool of social media. It really drives not being content.
Let's debate this real quick.
Another word for covetousness is communism. Just throwing that out there.
There you go.
That's what it is.
Yep.
Someone else has something and you want it, or you think your government or someone else has claim to what they have. That's covetousness, and God hates it. Matter of fact, if you're going to be involved in government, that's one of the qualifications. You have to hate covetousness. Love the truth, hate covetousness, fear God.
Amazing.
Yep, absolutely.
Really
and let's debate this question, then we'll close with one more verse. we'll close after this. But do you think that social media as a whole has been better or worse for Christianity and Christians? We'll go to Podpastor first on this one.
I'm gonna shoot a video.
that's a tough one because we use social media for our platforms, for promoting the word, promoting the church. But as a whole, I think it's worse for society, for the home, for the church, because the devil has now gained a lot of extra doorways into the home. He's the power of the air, and by social medias, we've given a lot more access to him, to our children's hearts, to their mindset, to their belief. And like if there's a pastor preaching false doctrine, but my children only hearing sound doctrine, they would never know. But because of social media now, they hear it. They see it, and they're being deceived. You see the wolf in sheep's clothing. That's what social media can be. So we got to be very wise. Now, can we use it for good? What the devil meant for evil, God can turn for good? Of course. But if you're asking me as a whole, does it hurt? I think it does hurt. I think some church members get mad at the pastor and they go online to another church and enjoy that church service. Or, it's a lot easier to not be faithful to church. I'm going to stay home. I rebuked our church today for not showing up, some of them, because they were online. So it's, to me, and we're on Facebook Live. So to me, it hurts our church. I see. So yeah, I think overall it hurts.
Yeah. And then we'll throw it back to Uncle Dan, and then we'll close
I think
with our guest.
I think, I can't really disagree with that. And I'm shooting a video for our Patreon. So
Say
that's
hi.
right there. So
I didn't know what you were doing.
These glasses are recording.
What's in that coffee?
So I'm shooting a video. This is going to be a perspective video from our perspective, and so that's why we're doing that. But I agree. I think I can't disagree. I mean, I just balances, everything with balance, right? There has to be a balance. Information is awesome, right? We live in a world where we have unbelievable access to information. And that can be powerful and used right. And then it can also make you lazy because you ain't got to get up and do anything to go find it. So again, there has to be it's about balance. And again, it's relationship with the Holy Spirit. If you can hear God's voice, that's what's going to kind of get you up off the couch. It's going to kind of get you to do things correctly. And again, and I'm more guilty probably than anyone that, I like my own voice, and I like to tell myself what I'm doing today. And there's sacrifice there, and there's, dying to self and allowing God to work through you. So from the Christian perspective, again, it's a tool for the church. They can reach people that would never walk through their doors. They can do a lot with that social media than ever before. But at the same time, it could be a very lazy, I don't have to get up and go to church today.
So I agree with both what you guys have said. I want to mention this. The use of cutting edge technology has always been something that the Bible has promoted. Okay. But we have to understand that it has benefits and that it also has, it's not the same. It's not a substitute. So social media is not a substitute for friendship.
Right.
Watching a church service is not the same as being in that church service. I'm
Right.
going to read to you what John said. He said, having many things to write to you. This is the end of 2 John, verse number 12. He says, having many things to write to you, I would not write with paper and ink. Paper and ink was high tech. That was cutting edge technology. They had just figured these things out, in a very good way. He says, but I trust to come unto you and speak face to face that your joy may be full. Joy is a fruit of the Spirit. And he said, it's missing. I can communicate some things and I'm going to use it for what I can use it for. And that's why I think we should all be doing everything that we can with social media and with the internet. We should be using technology. John used it and he says, but you have to realize its limitations. And there's something missing. There's a fruit of the Spirit that cannot happen in any other way. And then he mentions in 3 John, he says, I had many things to write, but will not with ink and pen write unto thee, but I trust to shortly see thee, that we shall speak face to face. Peace be to thee. Our friends salute thee. Greet the friends by name. There's an aspect of a relationship, and there's an aspect of joy. There's emotion that can't be. If you're ever tempted to write in all caps, right? You should probably be a red flag with the Holy Spirit. That maybe you shouldn't do it because there's something that can't be communicated properly. Coming to a church service or watching a church service online is not the same thing.
Yeah.
And I think we've really missed out on that.
And it's not to cut you off, but now go to Hebrews.
Yeah.
The Lord knew, didn't he?
Yeah.
Forsake not the assembling of yourselves.
As the manner of some is. There will be people that, and there kind of always have been, that would put that in the wrong priority. God says, no, you need to be in person. It's interesting. The science has proven now, right? What ended COVID? Like Thanksgiving.
Getting near each other.
Thanksgiving. Yeah. Thanksgiving ended COVID. Everyone just got in each other's presence. I wish we should have done it for churches, but we did it for Thanksgiving.
We should have.
And then what happened? It was gone.
It's over. Yeah.
The Delta variant wasn't strong, and we beat it. How in the world did that happen? Because we listened to God. Right. So there's a lot of folks that I'll tell you this story too. I got a good concluding story.
Absolutely.
I went to a preacher's meeting when I first became a pastor, and there was a camera salesman. Right? And he had a luncheon for all these pastors. He stood up in front of all these pastors at the luncheon and he points at us and he's like, the internet is 75% pornographic and it's your fault. And he pointed at all of us. He's yelling at us. And it's your fault. And we were all offended. We're like, what are you talking about? And we said, he's like, you're probably wondering what I'm talking about. Yeah, we are. He said, because you have just as much ability to fill the internet with good content. Most of you are producing 4 to 5 hours of content every week. You're producing it every week, and none of you are putting it on the internet. Whoa. And so he was selling cameras. He wanted, you know what I mean? He wanted us to buy the cameras.
Played.
But he was right. And so, we complain about it's such a powerful thing. We recognize its limitations, but we use it to the fullest extent that we can use it for. Yeah. And that's where we should stand when it comes to these things.
Wow,
I think we all agreed.
Yeah.
That was a good way to end.
Excellent. That's why we have them.
I think we're closing up here. I want to talk about Project 29.2.
Yes, sir.
And get out and get on Google. Pull up that website. Get involved in your local community. What states are you located in that they can connect with? Is it all?
We're in New Jersey, but we have had some influence in Pennsylvania. We know some folks in Pennsylvania. And so we're mostly in there. There is a national organization called Faith Wins. It's a not-for-profit educational organization educating people of faith, try to get them involved in civics. So we're affiliated with them, synergy with them. Faith Wins is the national organization. And we're trying to do what Faith Wins does on a national level. We're kind of their proxy here in Jersey and in Pennsylvania. Nice. And so, you go to project292.com. And we're just trying to get people involved. You need to vote. If you're a believer, God has given you a vote. You must steward it, and you need to do what's right with it. And so please vote. If we would vote, we would have such an impact and an influence. It would be too big to rig. Too big to rig.
I like it. And
by the way, if you're watching this on YouTube, he did a really good Trump impression on the Patreon. So go check us out.
And
there.
Chris looks exactly like Kamala. But Chris, don't you have a conference coming up here?
No, I got the dates all screwed up and messed it all up. So no, we will in October. Hopefully.
Yeah, we have a couple voter registration dates. The first and second weekend in October. And so,
And where will they be? Are they posted on your website?
they're posted on the website. If
Nice.
you go to project292.com, all the information is there. You can register, and we'll put you in touch with either Faith Wins here in Pennsylvania or Project 292 in Jersey.
Awesome.
Nice.
Awesome.
You were
Thank you so much.
preacher.
Follow
Thank
us
you.
and like us on TikTok and Instagram.
Yep. And
Facebook.
Instagram. If you're not subscribed on YouTube, it just takes 1 second. Press subscribe.
Thank you for coming and having
Thank
me.
you for watching this episode, and please leave some comments down below. We appreciate
Big hand
them.
to Pastor Dom CUOZZO.
Yes.
That's our Goomba from Jersey.
Yeah,
Our brother from another mother.
Thanks. It's good having you.
Give me the money.
You guys, as always,
show me the money.
Oh, is it show me?
oh my gosh.
I thought it was give me.
It's funny when he messes it up, actually.
Yeah. As always, you guys have
Do
a
that a
great
lot.
week.
Ask my wife.
You guys, as always, have a great
We saw
week.
that
Thanks
on
for
last week's
watching. Roll the
podcast.
outro.